Hey, welcome into this special 2 Daves and a Mic Shelby Golden Lions edition, late season edition. As we're getting close, we've got one game left after tonight in the regular season, and it'll be playoff time for our teams. We'll see how that goes. The Golden Lions tonight victorious over the Bessemer City Yellow Jackets. Not a surprise, Jacari Shell, as he joins me, David Allen, on this episode of the pod. Jacari, Shelby beat Highland Tech earlier in the season, 90-0. A lot of whatever made of that. Highland Tech beat this Bessemer City team. So no doubt it was going to be lopsided. The final score was 65-0. I will not bury the lead tonight. And the big news, Jacari, we got a new Cleveland County passing all-time leader.
Yep, Land with the. It seemed like they was trying to force feed him to get the record, which I don't blame him at all. I mean, it's for history. I think that record isn't going to be touched for quite some time, in my opinion. I feel like in order for you to touch that record, you're gonna have to be a minimum 3-year starter at best, especially in a Shelby system. You're gonna have to be like that. But yeah, Land, congratulations to Land on a huge accomplishment. I mean, it's something he can always look back on. But I mean, that's also good for Shelby, the brand, just continue to just produce great quarterbacks over the years, and another one in Land Farmer.
Jacari, when they took him out of the game, he actually started the second half, ran one play, handed it off to Jonas Woods, and then they subbed him out almost as if to say, hey, let's give this kid, the new county leader, a round of applause, which the fans, the crowd that was on hand tonight obliged. But the total at this point, obviously, with the Burns game and then the playoffs still to play, 8,321 is where he stands. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he passed Burns High School's Ben Mooney. And Ben just graduated a couple years ago. So, I mean, that's not an old record. So, again, there have been some really good quarterbacks in Cleveland County over the years, not just at Shelby, but Crest Burns, Kings Mountain have all had some really good quarterbacks over the years. So that's a major accomplishment tonight for Land Farmer.
Yeah, Ben Mooney, my former teammate at Gardner Webb, held that record. A really good quarterback, especially a good deep ball thrower, as I could tell when we practiced a lot at Gardner Webb. But again, what you said is Cleveland County keep producing these good quarterbacks and quarterbacks who can not only use their feet in athleticism, but also can throw it in the air and gain yards and help their team win. So did Isaiah hold it at one point, or was it like who held it before Ben? Or do you
That's a good question. We'll have to go back in the record book on that, maybe get that information for next week. I'm not sure. I want to say Burns has had a couple of guys that, in my opinion, could have at one time held the record. Troy Goss, I think at one time could have had that record, and then Lance Camp was after Troy and passed Troy's record. So it could be that both of those guys, and then if somebody from Shelby, after Shelby got into the passing game, honestly, way longer down the road than a lot of these other teams had been throwing it. So it could have been Isaiah. I'm not 100% sure, but we'll definitely give it a look, and we'll report back on that for next week. Game, though, tonight, really just, again, not even other than the accomplishment by Land passing the record, is hardly even worth talking about the touchdowns and the yardage and all that kind of stuff. But again, Jacari, we talked about this on the sideline after one crazy exchange with a couple minutes to go in the first half. The penalties on the Golden Lions, and tonight in a game that you're winning 65-0, running clock, blowing out, knew they were going to be bad because I've already mentioned that Highland Tech thing, and just penalty after penalty after penalty. And it's not just stuff that you can coach in terms of like holding and false starts and stuff like that. It's unsportsmanlike, it's late hits. And we got one kid that was, we got a kid that was ejected for throwing a punch, supposedly. They'll have to check the film on that and see if there's anything they can review on that. because Collins got ejected earlier in the season for doing the first down signal, but the referee apparently said he thought he did like shooting a gun with his finger, which they've really put a clamp on that. So Shelby was able to send the tape in and get that one kind of overturned, so he actually didn't have to sit out a game. But the Williams kid got ejected tonight, and unless there is video evidence that he did not throw a punch, he's going to miss the Burns game next week.
And that's a huge loss. I mean, a starting corner, someone who has been producing. I know her early in the year, he's been dealing with an ankle injury, so he's been out. But again, you're coming down to the crunch of the season, and you're doing knucklehead things against a team that had no shot at winning. Bessemer City, the highest points total they scored all year was 15. They lost to Holland Tech, and you're up 40-0 at that point. I just don't understand why is it such a need. I think it's just a pride thing, honestly, and just like a masculine thing that people don't want to get disrespected. They feel like they need to always protect themselves and always do the reactive things, but instead of them just having a tough skin and just walk away, like, listen, you're up 40-0, nothing, like, who cares at this point, man? Like, Bessemer City just looking for something to do because they have no shot at winning anything. And it's just, again, it's nothing coaching wise you can do. You tell them to walk away, and then at that point in time, the players just got to have the discipline just to have a pride thing in a sense of just walking away. Because again, nothing's gonna happen. And even in the second half with some players, the same things, the same reoccurring things continue to happen, and it's just like come on, guys, like things like that is gonna kill this team from wanting to accomplish the things they want to accomplish in December. It's the same old penalties. It's just things they have to clean up, and I don't even think it's really a coach's standpoint. I think it's just like a player discipline standpoint that they need to get figured out.
Well, and definitely, one piece of that would be, you don't go back on the field after you do something like that.
Right, not at
You're
all.
going to stand over here with me on the sideline, and you're not going back in. I mean, because and we had a couple of kids that were basically in a situation where if they had gotten another unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, they're not playing next week, and they're still in the game. So, and again, it's like you said, it's 40-0. What are we worried about? It's not going to get closer. So anyway, that's something that it's been frustrating. The Stuart Kramer game, I think, is where everybody was just kind of like, what in the world? Because it was like almost 200 yards and penalties, like, I don't know, 12 or 15 for 198 or something like that. Then the Lincoln game, I mean, honestly, the penalties cost us the game at Lincoln. You can say the turnovers cost us the game at Lincoln, but when you put the two together, no question, over 120 yards of penalties the night against Lincoln, and even last week against East Gaston. You were on the call for that one, so you saw it. I mean, just the first play of the game.
Yeah,
I think you said something about it last week on the kickoff
like
return.
it's the kickoff return. Just like, come on, guys, like the game just started. Like, why are we holding? And it's like it's just no technique behind us trying to block someone. Just we got to keep our hands inside the framework. And if a guy just leaving out, I mean, just
Let
let
him
him go
go.
and just trying to find more work, look up the field, find more work. I mean, you just things you learn. But again, like these guys and these kids who want to play college ball one day are going to have to realize that the second man always get caught. This is what we're always taught in college meetings whenever we go over the film and one of our teammates does something. It's like the second guy always get caught, and you always got to have a tough skin just to be able to walk away. And that's just the thing that these kids have to learn. Like it's okay to just walk away. Like it doesn't make you a punk or anything else in the world just for you to walk away from a situation that's going to hurt your team. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It kind of frustrates you, especially.
Well, and I guess my concern is if you're getting that upset and letting the whatever Bessemer City play, and we're not on the field, so we don't hear what the Bessemer City kids are saying or doing, at the bottom of the pile or whatever. But if you can't hold your cool against Bessemer City, what's going to happen next week? I mean, seriously,
Like
what's
that's real.
what's going to
That's
happen
real.
next week when you're playing a county rival with essentially the conference championship on the line? Because with Lincoln's loss last week to Stuart Kramer, whoever wins the Shelby Burns game is going to get a share of the conference championship with Lincoln. So,
And not only that, it's just where you going to play in the playoffs. Do you want to be on the road where you hear in the past I mean, you're not only playing against that team, but you're also playing against the refs at their own place at home field territory. it's just you got to put so many things in perspective. And I know when things and situations happen, like that many things don't run through your head during that moment. But after you do it, you got to sit back and wonder, like, I'm not always hurting my team just now, but I'm hurting my team in the future. It was starters that's on the field that was, I'm not gonna call their names or numbers, but it was starters on the field who had one more unsportsmanlike conduct, and they would have been out. And it was more than one. It was more than two. And he's just like, come on, guys, like, what are we doing?
Yeah, so I mean that's a major concern I would think at the last game going into the last game of the regular season,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't believe that me and you are the only two people that know that. So
Yeah,
I feel like that the entire coaching staff, Coach Wilbanks and company, know that that's a problem and
yeah.
are going to try to do whatever they can
And I
to
feel like they
clean
already
that
done
up.
everything they could. I mean, I think everyone kind of noticed that the Stuart Kramer game going into the bye week, you think everything get cleared up, and then again, I don't put this on the coaches at all. I mean, you can only say so much. You can't physically go out there and do. I mean, at the end of the day, you can tell them things, but they have to go out there and execute them. So I don't really fault the coaches at all for that because I know that's a area of a weakness of their team that they're trying to correct. So
Absolutely. All right, so I was trying to get a final of the Burns game so that we had that score. And I'm looking back in the text thread, and I don't think I got an update from the Burns game at all tonight. I do know, and we can report that Kings Mountain was a winner tonight. 31-14 was the final in that one. Crest, however, a 21-14 loser to Ashbrook. So Ashbrook effectively has run the table in the Big South.
mm-hmm.
Not something we would have expected at the beginning of the year because, I mean, typically it's the Crest Kings Mountain winner and maybe South Point over there in the Big South. This year it's going to be Ashbrook, the Green Wave. I don't know who they have to finish out the regular season next week. But they've already played South Point, Crest, and Kings Mountain, and they've won all three of those games. So I can't imagine whoever it's probably Hunter Huss because that's who Ashbrook's big rival is, long
Yeah,
term,
yeah,
long time big rival, even though they're not on the same level this year.
yeah,
So Ashbrook should cruise to that Big South championship next Friday night, and they'll, I would think, uh, be the number one seed or at least a very high seed if not the number one seed out of the West in 6A or 5A, whichever one they're in. I'm not even
yeah.
sure. I'm sorry to say that. But
The I looked up the Burns game. The last update I saw 2 hours ago, they were beating Holland Tech 35-0.
oh, they had Highland Tech tonight. Okay. Well, so
Yeah,
no doubt it's a win for Burns. Unfortunately for Burns, as they prepare for Shelby, no competition. I mean, 35-0, no. Highland Tech obviously playing a whole lot better at this point in the season than they did when we ran up against them back, a month ago or so.
yeah,
So good for them. Good for Highland Tech. They come off the win of Bessemer City, and now they're, holding Burns to 35. I don't know.
yeah.
Maybe it ended up being 70. I don't know. But all right. So, we talked a little bit about the RPI, and then I looked it up last week,
Okay.
Juice, and I'm going to say I looked up something wrong because of what I looked up still had Shelby as number one in the RPI at 4-3, and that would have been prior to the win over East Gaston. So I can't believe that that's the case. So I'm going to type it in right quick and see from the North Carolina High School Athletic Association RPI rankings 2025 and see what I get. Um,
But while you're doing that, I want to give a shout out to my guy Coach Emery. Got that offense rolling, another 50-point plus offensive performance. Also, the defense done this thing. Also had a pick six tonight. But I mean, those coaches has these guys rolling, especially at the right time. I mean, Land clicking with the receivers. I know kind of their identity and their focus of this game was going to get and land a record against Bessemer City. Try to get it out the way early before they go to Burns, and that be the sole focus of that game. But I mean, again, man, my guy Coach Emery, Coach Woodbanks, Dobson, Coach Dunaway, Bart, Van, Larry, all those guys, Dorian, all those guys got these guys rolling, man. But again, I think Shelby's problem right now is just the penalties. I think everything else takes care of itself. They got the athletes, they got the talent, and I just think mental wise, they just got to be able to control themselves because that now we're getting to one and done. If you lose and these penalties are taking over your team and you lose these one and done situations, I mean, it's no more football. So I mean, I think they have to be smarter, definitely going into the back half and basically the meat of the season, in my opinion.
All right, so the RPI coming into this week, Mountain Heritage at 7-1 was number one. Mount Airy at 6-2 was number two. Shelby at 5-3 was number three. Eastern Randolph, which Eastern Randolph is one of those kind of weird teams. They played in both the East and the West. It just depends on the number of teams. They're fourth at 6-2. Lincoln is fifth at 7-2. Then you got Hendersonville at 7-1, James Keenan at 7-1, Walkertown at 6-1, Northeastern, which is clearly an Eastern school, 6-2, and East Rutherford, the Cavaliers, who you saw earlier in the year against High Brighton,
Yeah.
7-1, and they are 10th. So I don't think Shelby's certainly not going to drop any in the RPI by beating Bessemer City tonight. But they're not going to go up unless either Mountain Heritage or Mount Airy lost tonight. So we'll just keep an eye on that. The key part to being at third, if that's accurate, Juice, is that would come with a first round bye for Shelby, and that's something that
they get buys this year.
They do get buys this year, and that's something that we're not familiar with ever that I can remember. Now you can go back farther. Other people might have a memory of it where teams got a bye at some point previously ever, but I don't remember that. So Shelby potentially could get a bye in the first round. So we'll see, but you got to take care of business Friday night against the Burns Bulldogs. No question about that. One thing you do know that what Burns has got is a powerful running game. Max Davis, his dad, Chad, was a former student of mine. He played at Shelby, was on the Shelby High team back in the day. And Max is his kid. His kid is a big old strong running back for Burns. And so Shelby going to have to tackle well next week. And that means the linebackers in the secondary going to have to be ready to come up and challenge and make tackles, Juice, because as when you're playing a team that runs the ball, your secondary is going to get a chance to make a lot of tackles.
Yeah, especially when, Max Davis has proven so many times that he can get to the third level pretty easily. Because I went to the Kings Mountain game, and he had almost like 4 or 5 touchdowns that really kept Burns into the game. And like what you said about the secondary coming down to tackle, I know Key does a great, being as small as he is, he does a great job at coming from the safety position, coming downhill and doing a great job. But Max Davis is a powerful running back. Honestly, Shelby also need to watch out just in case they do a little bit of the screen game, because I know they do that. But I think Shelby's prime focus is stopping the run. From the games I saw, Burns really didn't have that much of a passing game when it comes to downfield passing. But I think Shelby's main focus is to try to stop the run.
Absolutely. Speaking of Burns in the 4A, they are currently going into this week. They were 8th in the RPI. Again, probably not going to gain any spots by beating Highland Tech, but probably not going to lose any spots. So that's right on the borderline of getting a bye for Burns in the first round. So obviously, it's a big game for them to beat Shelby next week. If they beat Shelby next week, they're going to at least be in the top 8, probably in the 4A. And that, again, would mean for them a bye. Let's check quickly. Crest in 5A. I think they were number 1 going in at 7-1. Hickory was second at 8-1. East Lincoln was third. South Point was fourth. So I would think that Crest is going to fall. They're not going to fall a ton because Ashbrook is in the 6A, and I bet you Ashbrook, when I check the 6A, which I'm doing now, is probably right up close to the top 2. Ashbrook was third in the 6A at 8-0 behind Watauga and Sun Valley. And I'm sorry, Watauga every year is undefeated in the regular season, and they get thumped in the playoffs. So they may end up being the number one seed, but they're not going to win the state championship. They're going to get thumped in the playoffs. And Sun Valley, I don't know that much about Sun Valley. They may be playing out of the East, honestly. So Ashbrook could be, with that win over Crest tonight, they could be challenging for the top spot in 6A.
I'm so
So,
confused. Are these guys in the same conference and then they're in so like different divisions? Like, why is Crest and Ashbrook in the same conference, but Crest is 5A, Ashbrook 6A? I don't. And
right.
then
So the
Burns is
big,
3 and 4A. I'm so
right.
confused with that.
So the Big South is a 5A, 6A conference.
Yeah.
The Southern Piedmont, which Shelby and Burns are in, is a 2A, 3A, 4A conference.
Mm-hmm.
So you got Cherryville, Bessemer, Highland.
West Lincoln, all
Now
those.
that may be it. Cherryville, Bessemer, Highland may be the only three 2As. Then Shelby, East Gaston. No, Shelby, Shelby, West Lincoln, Lincolnton are probably the 3As, and then maybe Burns, Stuart Kramer, and East Gaston are the 4As. I could be wrong about all that, but it's a three-way split in that Southern Piedmont. I think the Big South is just the 5A, 6A. But the reason you're asking, the reason is because before, you'll remember when we had 8 classification championships in the football, it was big 2A and little 2A. So you were 2A all season long. And then when you got to the playoffs, you split it to big and little.
Yeah.
Now they're splitting the big and little before they get to the playoffs. So it has to be these split classifications. It's a hot mess. But anyway,
It's confusing.
needless to say, big game next week against Burns. We'll just leave it there and we'll talk about it. Hey, one thing we talked about Jack and Santana a couple of weeks ago when Duke was going down there, and I gave you a hard time about that. Jack and Santana were the offensive and defensive players of the week last week in whatever conference that is that Tulane's in. So congrats. Big shout out to our boys that are carrying the mail.
Yeah, let's do it. Guys in Louisiana going crazy. I mean, hopefully they can win the AAC. I know they got some tough games coming up with Memphis. I think they play Memphis in a couple weeks. And, I mean, USF, really the top dog in the AAC, kind of got that playoff spot. But, I mean, I hope Tulane takes over because I like to see those guys in the playoffs and representing a group of 5 schools with that 12th seed or whatever seed they get with that in the playoffs. So I'm excited to see that.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I thought Duke was gonna pull it out because of Mensa. I thought Mensa was gonna have a big game, but I was proven wrong.
Yeah, it is what it is. Hey, I'm going to prove myself wrong because I'm just going to go ahead and make a prediction, and I'll probably be wrong. And if I am, it's no big deal because it's just me and you talking, right? Carolina upsetting Virginia tomorrow. I called it right there. Carolina.
I don't think Virginia's that good, in my personal opinion.
Carolina going to get. I mean, they should have beat Cal last week. I stayed up till 2 a.m. watching that game out on the West Coast, and they fumbled at the half-foot line to keep from beating Cal last week. So I think, Belichick going to keep them in it. They're going to beat Virginia tomorrow. That's my
play
call.
Them at Virginia or Carolina?
I think it's at Carolina tomorrow. So
yeah, 12 o'clock game. They should have made it a night game.
Big time, big high noon game.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, that's good stuff. So
basketball team playing right now.
Yeah, you said they were playing BYU. How were they doing?
I think BYU had last time I looked, it was like a 4-point lead on them.
Okay. So. How about your running Bulldogs? They're 4-2. Who they got this weekend?
Lindenwood took a tough loss last week to UT Martin. I was on a call for that one. They got dominated. Pad 37-7. They played Lindenwood this week. I mean, they're off to a good start. I mean, Coach Reiser in year 2 finally had an all season and got these guys rolling. So I mean, I mean, it's proud to see being an alumni. I sound pretty old saying that, but being an alumni, I really hope they succeed.
Yeah, absolutely. So best of luck tomorrow for G-Dub as they take on Lindenwood. I'm one of those. I'm like Lindenwood. I'm not sure about where Lindenwood is.
Yeah, it's in Missouri. They were D2, just transitioned to D1 a couple years ago. So they put them in a big OVC, which is the Gardner Webb Conference.
Gotcha. All right. Well, again, big week for Shelby. They got Burns next week. Not only a share of the conference championship on the line, but probably a bye for the Golden Lions in the first round of the playoffs if they are able to knock off the Burns Bulldogs. So for Jacari Shell, I'm DA saying, hey, that's it for Shelby Golden Lion, 2 Daves and a Mike. See you next week. Peace.